You switch on Netflix, everywhere there is ML, right? There is algorithm. Something you browse, you always get recommendation based on what you browse. So I think it is no more separate from our day-to-day life experience. And as a designer, I feel wherever there is a UI, designer is required, right? And as I said, like ML is integral part of this whole end-to-end experience now for every product.
Right, right.
Of course, like when you sell the product, whether that is going to be part and parcel of the standard product or not, that's a different question. But for the designing part, I think designer needs to have these skills. And it's not that difficult. It's just that how you think about building that ML experience, why you want to build that ML experience. So bringing that perspective and collaborating with product management, engineering, and in this case, I would also say the writing team, technical writers. Because when it comes to conversational AI, you heavily depend on writing some of the conversations, right? So it is a collaboration with all these different skills. AI, ML is all about how you can build ethical AI experience, right? Because AI can be really good, but AI can be evil also. And we have seen these examples in our day-to-day life, right? How it can be abused, this technology. So this is again, this quote actually talks about the collaboration part, which I mentioned, right? It is about bringing multiple disciplines together or multiple skills together and collaborating on building these intelligent experiences. So basically the three things you have to do, which I won't say it's different for ML. It is usually the best practice in user experience design when you're designing, but partnering with product management, engineering, and as I said, like even technical writers, because this is something I have done heavily with when I was doing conversational AI experiences. So partnering with them, I won't just say collaboration, but you have to partner with them. So you have to work with them, have your point of view at the partnership level. Empathy is not only to use for your users. You also have to be empathetic with your stakeholders or your colleagues, right? Because when someone is pushing back on something, of course, there might be some reason why they are saying that. So let's try to understand what are those reasons why someone is saying no to that. Is there any other option to solve that issue so that they can agree on some of the points? So there is always it's more of a conversation skill, I would say. How can you deal with some of these challenges? Then together you can ideate on some of the ideas you have, the vision that you have, and then you have to visualize whatever the vision that you have. So basically build and visualize what you have. So those insights.
I just want to clarify one thing here. Is it the ideation skills that are important, or is it your ability to moderate the ideation process? Which one are you talking about?
Both.
Okay.
And in my case, I would say usually design takes the lead in these kind of workshop formats, and especially design thinking, because and the reason I feel design can and I won't say lead, but it is more like bringing everyone together. So orchestrating that whole conversation. And the only reason I feel design can do that well, because we have visibility to users, we have visibility to the product management because we closely work with them, we have visibility to engineering as well.
Right.
So we know all these aspects and we can bring them together. We know what are the pain points customer or users have. So I think we can facilitate that conversation and ideation process.
So facilitation skills are big there.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
I talked about the journey, right? User journey. So this is the standard user journey that we put together for Service Cloud. I didn't have the ML version of it, but imagine now you're looking at some of these workflows and some of the touch points. And now you're mapping where exactly you can automate based on the user pain points or some of the areas it's a problem area where we can provide more insights to the user, or something automation can really help them in their from the productivity perspective. So identifying those areas on this journey and marking them for automation. So this was one of the example. Now it is all psychology, which I personally felt based on my experience. So it's all about understanding human psychology when you are learning about ML or building that experience. So just think about what helps you trust humans, right? So some of these qualities like empathy, you feel safe with someone, the honesty, someone respects you, right? Transparency in communication, support and guidance, reliability, kindness. So some of these are the qualities which usually we trust, right? That person. Now, what can help trust AI? Now, if you translate all these left side qualities to the right side, if you see, so basically when someone is empathetic with you, it's about they understand your perspective. They can think from your perspective. So it's all about understanding user needs, being empathetic with them. When you feel someone, so it's basically about increased user well-being, using AI for good, not harming users, right? It's about honesty, not being biased, right? When you're giving some insights to anyone, just not being biased to someone. Then respecting users' privacy, data privacy, right? So that's one of the quality. It's explainable, so that's it's easy for user to trust some of the recommendations, right? When you're giving recommendation, you're not making sure not taking control away from user. So keeping user in control. So that's very, very important with AI or ML experience when you're designing. Data reliability. So why do I trust what you're telling me? Why do I go with certain recommendation? So if data is reliable, I'm likely to go with your recommendation. So that is very important. And using AI is for good. It's something, I think this is something we should always keep in mind. AI should not harm our users. It should be used only for good. So this is how I mapped when I started thinking about it, like what are the qualities that I would like to bring in when I'm designing AML experiences. And these are the kind of things we as a team, we discussed with each other. Okay, so what are the qualities that we really want in our product? What kind of AI ML experience we want to build? And that leads to basically the guiding principles of AI. So these are, and again, this can be multiple or different based on your product, what kind of product you're building. But this is something I feel there is no option for this. One is like human centered. It should be about people. It should be about your users. So just be grounded in their needs. How can you help them improve something, their life, right? Or their gain something in their professional life. Being safe. So safety by providing a data privacy, not harming them by doing, providing some of the features, being reliable, unbiased, just fair treatment to everyone, not like only certain people are seeing something and certain are not. So not being biased, anticipatory. So anticipating what user is doing and what they likely to do or they would like to do. So anticipating and giving them suggestion in based on the context. That will help a lot. That will help them a lot in terms of like doing their stuff in the fast pace. Explainable. So why you are seeing what you are seeing? What's the reason behind that? And on what basis you can take a call whether I want to go with this recommendation or not.
And this is actually classic with advertising because people get so paranoid, like, because there's no way to explain how the AI did what it did. So, like, are you listening to my conversations? What are you doing? So that's where it is. This everybody's felt it at some point.
Yes. And it's very interesting you said it, because I always felt like these fundamentals, design fundamentals, no matter whatever you design, it's same everywhere. Any medium you go, whether it's advertising, whether it's user experience, some of these basic things are there. Like, it won't change. It's just the application of it might be a little different from because of the medium. And the
Right.
last thing is
Yep,
meaningful.
yep.
Of course, you can expand on it based on your product, but these are this is what we felt as a team. Like, these are the basic things we would like to have in our AI or intelligent experiences. Now, let's quickly look at some of the examples. So this is the example from our Service Cloud. This is the dashboard. So how AI can help provide users some of the insights when they log into the system. It should help them understand how my day looks like today, how and what I'm going to deal with today. So if what are my tasks, what are my upcoming tasks? So it also tells you what's urgent, what's coming in next 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If there is anything urgent, so some of the cases which are maybe escalated, it gives you all this data. So dashboard is something which is intelligent, give you insights and helps you decide and plan your day and activities accordingly. Now, the second part of it is like, this is the inside view where we talked about service agent, right? Like, when you get a call, service agent talk to you, they need to look at your data as a customer in terms of your account information, right? So as you see in the left, this is the information. And this is whole one area where user or service agent actually don't have to go anywhere else. They see all the information of that customer in one single screen. So left side, they get to see all the information, history of that customer, how many maybe products they have purchased, all of that. On the middle part of the area where they can see the complete timeline related to that customer. So they have every insight to look at without switching the context. And they, based on the current context, whether whatever customer is reaching out to, there are some recommendations. So based on the conversation service agent is having with customer, system is going to recommend some of the actions based on that context. And in the right side, you will see where the insights are, is basically some of the recommended solution which service agent can utilize in terms of recent files from customer, something customer has shared, for example, issue, screenshot of particular issue or picture of any particular issue they are facing with. The knowledge base article, if self-help service agent wants to suggest, he or she can definitely look at some of the article and recommend some article to the customer. If agent needs to, the issue is little bit something which they are not able to solve and they need help, they can always reach out to the other agents to get help. So some of these kind of insights or intelligence you can build into enterprise applications.
So it looks like almost about 50% of your screen is actually driven by the algorithm. Is that right?
Yes.
So interesting. But you would not realize it, that there was a machine
You
on
won't
the other
realize.
side.
Yeah.
It just happens. Nice.
Yes. So it is part of your natural workflows, and so that's the beauty of it. Like, it should not come as a separate part. It should be within your regular activity. Now, talking about the conversational AI, this is the example where you see on the first screen where there is a conversation happening from the chat window. The second screen is basically the close-up of that chat. So when user asks, I want to check a stock for particular product, what you get is the insights. Without you as a user going and calculating this manually, the system is giving you insights of what you are asking. So just imagine how much time user is saving while doing that.
So I have just a thought, and feel free to contradict me if I'm wrong. But I've always realized, I felt that, as long as our screens were just screens, you had an interaction designer, visual designer, researcher, the traditional roles. And then when you had conversational design, then it actually became a interaction designer, probably a copywriter, and a researcher. So the visual designer got replaced. So visual design is the medium, right? And then when you talk haptic or AR, VR, you might actually say it's a interaction designer, probably a motion graphics person or something like that, who's specialized into UX, and then somebody who's like a researcher, right? So the medium, as the medium changes, the visual designer changes to other specializations in that medium. Does that make sense?
So the basic skills are required in interaction, writing, and visual design. Those are always there. But as you said, like as the medium changes, the role of each of these or the percentage changes. Because they are required in all the mediums, like whether you design file or chatbot, or you need these definitely skills. But then I think the way they think about, for example, chatbot, again, visual designer, it looks simple, but there are so many things that visual designer need to think about it. So I think it's required everywhere. It's just that the percentage or the way they think about certain medium might change.
Makes sense.
Yeah. This is one example of like how you can help user compare and decide. So this is the example where supply chain management, right? So where you have multiple suppliers, and the ranking is something is coming from ML, and basically ranking, again, when you just show ranking as a user, I don't know why this ranking, right? I don't know the reason behind that. But then when you see rollover on it and it explains you, then you have the enough information to take a decision on which supplier you want to go with. And you also have a comparison, right? In terms of what's the current supplier and the competitor's price. So the point here is like you have to provide user all these insights or information, enough information to take trust recommendations.
Right. So I was just thinking, just as a homework for everyone, if they're interested, is look at your day-to-day screens and identify where all an algorithm or a machine learning agent is giving you data.
Yeah.
And just identifying that is like good practice for saying how you can incorporate in your design.
We don't even realize it's everywhere.
Yep.
This is same another example, explaining user why, right? It's very, very important. I think is one of the very critical factor in AI/ML experience, like explanation, like why you're showing what you're showing, or why user needs to go with your recommendation or particular suggestion. So the level one is where you just see the ranking. You don't have any other information. Second, where it tells you a little bit of information about what is it, like why you are seeing this ranking. And then the third is when you click on more information, it gives you the complete even explanation as well as the comparison. So when user has this complete information, it's much easier for them to trust the data as well as take the decision. I'll just skip this, but this is again the same thing, anticipating or predicting user needs and recommending action. So here it's again a continuation of chat first two screens, where in the chat, it's recommended that creating a purchase requisition. And then user confirms, okay, you go ahead and create the purchase requisition, and then automatically opens the requisition creation form.
Right. So those buttons down below, those were actually changing in real time. Is that what it
Yes.
is?
Yes.
So
So
just,
it
that's
will open
fascinating.
it will open the create purchase requisition form, and then you it will be filled. Ideally, it should be filled up based on the
Right.
context, and then
Right.
you just need to, as a user, you just need to submit it. That's it, or create it.
And this is fascinating because traditionally as designers, we think all our buttons are static, but here it's a dynamic button that's been put in by the AI system
Yes.
without a designer planning for it. Or
Yeah.
there is some plan, but
There is a
it is
design. There
expected.
is a
Yeah.
design aspect. Definitely, you design it how you want it to appear and everything,
Right.
and what kind of fields are required. Even what needs to be auto-populated. So this is something
Right.
we have to be, as a designer, engaged with the product management, and
Yes.
mostly in product management.
Right.
Because imagine if I get the create purchase form and it's all empty. Then
Right.
as a user, I have to input all these keys.
Correct. Correct.
And it doesn't make sense, right? Ideally,
Absolutely.
the form should filled up, fetch the context and data from that context.
Now, this screen looks really simple, but it's like very deep
Yeah,
when
there
it
is a
comes to
lot
the
of
technology
thinking
stack.
behind this. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I'll just show you a quick example. This is a voice. So this is a before scenario of the chat bot. And then I'll show you the after. So the last part of it is little different. So just listen carefully.
Can you give me a status update on the phone I ordered?
I need the purchase requisition.
I don't know it.
Apologies, unfortunately, that is not a valid purchase requisition item. Can you try again? What should the purchase requisition item be?
Okay, I want to order a new phone. Show me phones in the catalog.
Here's what I found for catalog item with material group name, phone.
Show me phones less than $200.
Here's what I found for catalog item with material group name, phone, price less than 200, and item currency USD.
Order this.
Do you want me to create the purchase requisition item, phone 1 purchase requisition cost, 199 purchase requisition currency, USD? Shall I continue?
Yes.
Okay, so here in the first option, it ends here. Like it asks for everything, right? Whether once the user confirms the product, it asks for whether they want to create a purchase requisition order. And then it ends there. Now see the redesigned version of it.
Can you give me a status update on the phone I ordered?
I didn't find a request for a new phone. Here are the purchases you have recently made.
Okay, I want to order a new phone. Show me phones in the catalog.
Okay, here are the phones in the catalog.
Show me phones less than $200.
There's one phone that's $199.
Order this.
I created an order for the iPhone. Do you want to submit it?
Yes.
I have submitted it. It should arrive in 2 weeks.
So very small difference, but at the end you saw like it already created the purchase requisition order, and it also updates the user in terms of when they can expect it will arrive. So these are small things, but it actually is a huge positive experience from the customer perspective.
Yes.
So see, looks very simple, but you have to think through all these things quite. Now this is one of the ad, and now these are the examples from our daily life. I showed you first from some of from SAP, but now this is one of my favorite ad. You can see how AI did good. So this is, I think, one of my really favorite ad, and we can see like what hyper personalization can do, right? So whenever we design as a designer, design something, I try to keep that in mind, like how can we help, not just at where we work, but apart from that, like how can we help maybe our community or other where someone needs help, right? So this is one good example for AI for good. And now this is, I think everyone recognize this. So if you have used Grammarly, it is about basically human augments machine and machine augments human. So it's give and take. That's what I say in ML experience. So you design something, but you need feedback from your users to make sure like what you are giving them is the right right content or that works for them. So that's where the feedback is important from your users. So Grammarly is one of the really great example where you see here in the pop-up that they have this thumb up, thumb down. So that's basically the feedback mechanism where when you click on thumbs up or thumbs down, it's training the model. It's basically based on your feedback. It's deciding whether this tone for this particular text is correct or not. So we are helping basically machines when we do that.
And that's actually a very interesting thing that you said, right? So it's us helping machines. So in this, there's actually two components of AI. AI as a provider of information, but there's also a second part where you are training the AI. So
yeah.
both of those have to be designed into when you're thinking about designing a product.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So when you're designing, you just don't, like, of course, along with the customer facing experience, you also have to think about how the admin experience can work, right? Because you also need to make sure when you're designing system, you have to design admin experience where you create the model, you train the model, right? So that also one part which you have to think about. Now, this is something anticipating users' action. Example from our daily life, right? Everyone uses Gmail. So if you mention something, let's catch up in three days, you will get a reminder and you don't hear from that person. In Gmail, you see that it gives you that orange text on the right side. Do you want to follow? So this is something, a simple thing, but then it actually helps you so much. Like you don't have to remember, like, okay, I said this 3 days back and this person haven't responded back to me. But then Gmail is going to remind you on that. So it's so easy, like so much motor load they are taking away from you. Now, smart recommendations, something which we started using regularly, right? Based on when you just don't want to type a lot, based on your email context, it gives you the canned recommendation. So based on whatever suits you, you can select that or even add to that once you select it and then send the response. So as I said, like this looks very simple as a design, UI design, but then just think about the kind of thinking goes behind this. This is another example of recommendation based on the context. Now, autocomplete is one of the really helpful feature, which everyone we are using this, right? In Gmail and in many places we are seeing this now. So imagine like how much productivity we all have increased. You imagine just typing through all this, thinking about what to write, but now the life is like much easier based on these kind of features. One more thing is like smart recommendations based on the usage pattern. So this is, you might have noticed in some places where even Gmail has this, but then in some places, like if you have not used or responded or even opened certain emails, it tells you, it asks you whether you want to unsubscribe to this particular email or this particular organization. So basically to avoid the junk. So, and this is so helpful, right? You just can get rid of some of the unwanted stuff. Protecting user from harm. So scam likely in iPhone, and I'm sure in Android also you must be getting something like this. But iPhone, when there are numbers which are not like you can't trust, you will get this scam likely alert or this kind of a name where you then don't pick up this number. So this is like so helpful when people get scammed, right? When by picking up unknown numbers, you can avoid just by looking at this. This is another example in financial domain where giving customers email alerts, right? If some transactions, whether you have done it or not. So these kind of alerts can help user from certain frauds. On particularly social networking sites, right? Abusive language. It's our job as a designer to think about all these different use cases, as well as like how can you design them. So when you someone writes something here, you see that it informs or gives you the alert, like this is something, are you sure you want to post this? Right? And it explains you the guidance why you should not post this. So these can, of course, like still things happens, but then there should be a way where you can alert users if someone is doing something wrong. Another thing is like based on, even if the number is not, the contact is not saved, you sometimes see this, maybe this is this particular person. And the only reason you're seeing this because maybe somewhere in the email or in your chat or messages, somewhere you have, it's fetching that data. And that's where it's giving you the context. So when you, even if you're seeing the unknown number, you still feel that, okay, you still see that, okay, this is maybe John. So I can still pick up this call. Again, the recommendations based on the usage. So it predicts whether now last 6 days you have been calling this one person every day. So when you search for something, some contact, it will populate some of those most used contacts or most used products or features on the top. We talked about giving user control and basically giving them option to give you feedback to train the model, right? So here you see, this is basically the translation. It says read this translation. So when you translate it, whether it's right, wrong, you can provide your feedback, rate this translation. And by providing the feedback, you are basically helping model train correctly. So based on your feedback, it will decide whether this translation is correct or not. Verified data. So we talked about trustworthy data, right? So small things like this small blue tick gives you the confirmation, like, okay, this profile is authentic profile. You can trust, you can follow this particular person. Yeah, so some of these examples, which I think all of us we see in our day-to-day life.